I'm wearing second-hand hats, second-hand clothes. That's why they call me second-hand rose. Second-hand hats, second-hand clothes. That's why they call me second-hand rose.
Welcome back, everybody, to Screepy series. Being a custodian is what I've done for quite a while now. I like the word custodian better than being called a janitor. I've been working with my company coming up to 5 years now. It's not the greatest job in the world, but it keeps me fed, sheltered, and I do have other hobbies, so I wouldn't define myself as a custodian, but sure as hell, I'm one. The pandemic has brought the busy work office, the high pace of the days to a halt. Frankly, I've enjoyed being at work without the hustle and bustle of the office workers around the building. I clean the washroom and desks around the place with my music blasting, singing loud like I sold out a 90,000 seat arena. I've gotten quite fond of talking out loud to the podcasts I'd be listening to, arguing back and forth, and making tons of remarks as I listen on to the podcasts as I cleaned. The company I worked for has contracts with 3 buildings, and I usually only work at 2 of those 3 buildings. One of the buildings is quite a whiles away from me, so I'm only usually scheduled for the 2 office buildings. What had happened was, at the building I never worked at, there was major understaffing going on, and many employees were off work because they were on sick leave. I didn't want to take shifts, but it was out of my hands, so I found myself working at the office building far away from my home in a secluded area, and there was nobody in sight. There was a gas station a few blocks away, and then a highway. The first time I showed up there was a man by the name of Jose that let me in, and he showed me the ropes. He explained all the duties for the place and where everything is and what needs to be done. Now, I usually work during the day, but for this place they had me working on and off one weekday and the other weeknights on rotation until the regular employees were back. I was told there was less workers at this building. I don't work here, so I soon learned that cleaning and work was done at a much slower pace. I hardly saw anyone except for Jose now and then, but besides that, I'd be alone on the premises. The 3rd week is when things started to seem very peaceful, and I wasn't so bothered about the place at all. The place looked absolutely beautiful from the back of the building. The back led to a downhill which turns into a huge forestry area. The birds would chirp, the greenery and trees would stretch as far as you could see. I would take my break at the back of the building where they had a sort of patio setting. I would drink and eat my food while I stared into the forest and meditated on my thoughts and smoked cigarettes. Later on in the week, I noticed that I couldn't find my mop bucket. There was more than one in the building for us to use, but it was strange because the mop bucket was left right outside the washroom I was currently cleaning. There was nobody else that could have took it, but I figured it was just left at the floor below and that I'd check it out later. It was fall, so the weather was getting cooler outdoors, but for some reason the place seemed to be freezing inside, even though the temperature was set at a reasonable amount. It was weird because when I first started here it seemed fine. This building had 14 floors and there wasn't a 13th floor per se, but the 14th floor was actually the 13th floor technically. I was in the staircase while going up towards the 14th floor, and the mop bucket I was looking for came tumbling down. Unlike the robbers in Home Alone, I managed to evade and dodge the oncoming buckets as they splashed out dirty water and chemicals. I couldn't explain what was going on. I don't think anyone could have. I don't drink or take drugs, so I know I was in my right mind. When I got to the 14th floor, I saw something across the room. It was definitely somebody, and as I headed towards where the person was, passing all the computers and desks. Once I got to the end of the room, there was nothing there, nobody to be seen. I thought I was going mad. I started cleaning the place, wiping everything down and doing the best I could to get the place clean and tidy. Once I got to the washroom for this particular floor, all the 3 water faucets were turned on full blast. I thought to myself, whoever did this is an idiot and doesn't appreciate our environment. Who wastes so much water for no good reason? After I finished up with the washroom, I smelt the most horrible smell ever. It was sort of like manure and dog food with hints of rotten tomatoes. I don't know if you've ever smelled rotten tomatoes, but it's the worst thing you'll ever smell, guaranteed. I looked around the washroom to find where the smell was coming from, but couldn't find anything. I decided to make a note of it and get back to the main floor where they had a cafeteria for employees, which was on my list of duties that I had. I took the elevator and every single floor stop was pushed, which was something everyone does when they're young and stupid, but nobody is supposed to be in the building but myself. And now my suspicions grew. Whoever I saw earlier must have done this. I yelled out, "You aren't funny, you jackass!" As I walked through the halls, I could hear whispers, doors in the distance being closed and cracking. I was standing in the elevator, and as soon as I clicked the button to close the doors, the sound automatically stopped like clockwork. Once I got into the elevator and the doors closed, I hear somebody scream, "Why?" I almost shit my pants, and I was breathing and sweating like I spent the day in a sauna. I decided to take a break and went to the back of the building for a cigarette. Smoking away and listening to a song I had on repeat for the day, I decided to do a swipe of the building before I cleaned the cafeteria. I got to the 4th floor of my investigating and I found a box inside a closet full of office supplies, and it had a dead cat in it. It was gutted and its intestines seemed to be removed. Its heart was left right beside its head. On top of all that, it was a black cat. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I almost puked my guts out myself. I got on my knees and started crying until the stench of death made me tremble and fall back on my ass. The cat hasn't been dead for a long time from the looks of it, and I did a prayer before getting things to clean up the mess. I was thinking, what could have done this? Not a human, but it couldn't have been a coyote, not indoors like this. I was starting to think whoever I saw earlier might have, and any doubts about seeing someone started to diminish. I knew I needed to find this person before they found me. I thought about calling the police after seeing the dead cat, but I didn't. After a month of working at the new place, I noticed I didn't receive my paycheck. I usually get paid bi-monthly, so I get paid twice a month. I called my boss to see what was going on, and he told me that I've never been showing up to work and that they assumed I was sick. They claimed they had tried to contact me via email and cell phone many times. I couldn't believe it. I knew I've been going to work. I'm not crazy. I told my boss that Jose had been working alongside with me, and my boss informed me that there's nobody with that name that's ever worked for us in years. This couldn't be real, is the only thing I was thinking. This has got to be a prank of some sort. I dropped what I was doing and drove to the building. I've been going to it for the last month, and once I got to it, the place was locked and boarded up. I went back to my car and smoked a few cigarettes, stressing over what the heck was going on. There was a couple walking by, and I asked them, "Can you tell me about this building here?" They said it's an old office building that's been abandoned for over 10 years now. They said it was supposed to be demolished a while back, but it never was. After learning about the building and what happened to me, I kept returning to this building, looking for Jose, trying to get answers and find out what the hell was happening to me. I never ended up meeting Jose again, and the building finally got demolished a couple years ago. Even though I missed out on money from that experience, I've spent a lot more money on therapy, and I still haven't come to any sort of conclusion. Thank you for tuning in to Screepy series on AltStuffTv. Follow us on our social media accounts and subscribe and like the video.